It's a gloomy, overcast morning here in Bangalore, and yet here we are to talk about Australia versus Bangladesh, the enticing encounter that it was. Yeah, I don't think I can hype it up more than this. We've got Nikhil and Pramod, of course, joining us. A rain curtailed encounter. Still, it sort of just went on to low end, especially after what we saw last night. जहाँ पे लगा कि match शायद जल्दी खत्म हो जाएगा, but no, Afghanistan were hell bent on playing the entire 20 overs. नींद की तो लगी पड़ी है, but it's all right. Here we are once again, as always. Let's straight up cut to the chase. I'll first go to this thing. It is about last night, and we will be talking about Australia, Bangladesh. Here we go. Yep, ऑस्ट्रेलिया बांग्लादेश का बोला है. मैच समरी डाल देते हैं. निखिल भाई, क्या लगा मैच का? I mean, it's not like Bangladesh started favorites or something, but a better performance was definitely in order.
Yeah, 100%. I think they won a bad toss. They would have loved to bowl first. Given how much time Australia had to take, you have to remember they scored the last 30 runs in the last 14 balls, and which is why this looks so rosy in terms of Australia being, 100 for 2 and 28 runs above par in terms of the DLS score. So, had they bowled first, I think this would have been more of a contest because Australia would have been tested far more. When Australia were bowling first, the result was almost, even without the toss, a foregone conclusion that, okay, they will do well, but who all will come good? So I think it was good for Shanto to finally score some runs. I think Tanzim को तो पता भी नहीं चला उसके पहले वो out हो गया. But an innings that always had a little sparks, but never quite kept going because Australia kept chipping away at the wickets. So kept them to a reasonable score. Pat Cummins things, chip with a hat-trick. I mean, put it rightly, and then played one. भाई कोई भी फॉर्म में हो, जब वो वर्ल्ड कप में आता है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया का कपड़ा बनता है, तो I just don't know how he suddenly just looks fluent. पहले ही बॉल पे रिवर्स में कैसे एग्जीक्यूट हो जाता है भाई, मतलब पर हेड. I was happy that Bangladesh bowled a lot of spin. थोड़ा टेस्ट हुआ है, लक फिर भी उसके साथ था, which is fine. That's what the role of the opener is. So far so good for Australia. What's there to complain?
Definitely, so far so good for them. And Pramod, again, in terms of how Bangladesh's batting panned out, that was supposed to be their weakest suit. We'd even discuss about this during the first group games. They had a very well-rounded bowling attack. It's the batting that needs to step up. The likes of Liton Das, especially, who are one of their key batters up top. Once again, it was the same. It was the weaker suit sort of not bailing them out. Supposed to be a batter-friendly surface. Even Nazmul Hassan Shanto spoke about this in the post-match presentation. This was a better surface. We should have scored at least 170 to sort of be in the game. We did not do that. क्या लग रहा है मतलब in terms of that batting performance?
Yeah, positive, as Nikhil said, was Shanto getting back to form. He hit the ball really well. I think he showed right from the first ball that he was not going to be buckled down by this Aussie bowling, and he started going after them very early in the innings. And I think Shakib batting at 6 seemed a little out of place, to be honest. He came in around the 15th over mark, and yeah, I mean, you don't expect Shakib to really go ballistic at the death, right? So that was probably a little too down for him. Probably they sent. I can understand why they sent Rishad Hussain at 4. They didn't want two lefties, but I think Shakib batting there in that position, regardless of who's there at the crease, sort of puts and him scoring runs there puts Bangladesh in a slightly different position, in my opinion. So I think while they were positives with their batting, they did, as I said, Najmul getting some runs under the belt was probably the only positive. But I think they sort of faltered by sort of sending Rishad a little bit higher up the order. It didn't work. I mean, if he had scored like a quick 20 ball 30 or something like that, he would have called it a master stroke. But that didn't happen. So I think the worst part is Shakib has to bat. The further down he goes, I think his impact on the game further reduces, and he had only 6 odd overs to bat out, and of course, it didn't go well for him. So yeah, in terms of Bangladesh batting, a little bit of positivity, but then overall, I think it is pretty much the same sort of picture for them.
And in all fairness, at the 15th, 16th over mark, they were at about 103 for 4 before they lost Shakib. It seemed like यहाँ से ठीक है 160 तक पहुंच सकते हैं, they can sort of somehow crawl themselves to that, but wasn't to be the case. Like Nikhil bhai mentioned, Pat Cummins chipped in with a hat-trick and took the important wickets of Mahmudullah and Tawhid Ridoy amongst that. And Nikhil must be happy there as well. Tawhid Ridoy once again doing good for Bangladesh. Good to see him do well. And Rashad Hussain with the ball has been a revelation. We've spoken about that earlier. Ki bhai, finally Bangladesh have a leg spinner amidst them, and it has proven to be a huge shot in the arm for them. He's done really well. Even today, picked up the 2 wickets that their side did take, Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh in the second innings. Also, in the second innings, when it came to Bangladesh's bowling, Nikhil bhai, you spoke about the spin bit sort of, coming to the fore where they used a bit more spin. Mehdi Hassan bowled 3 overs in the power play, primarily to target head shot. But given how Taskin Ahmed and Tanzab, all of them, they had a well-oiled bowling attack. Do you think they could have probably given another over 2 pacers to one of the pacers, or you're happy कि भाई spin को दिया, spin को ही देना था वहां पे? On mute. Congratulations, Nikhil bhai. Well done.
Hopefully I'm audible now. So it was, I think it was because you saw that with the changes, they dropped the one good batter who can bat in the last, and they replaced him with Mehdi Hassan, जो तुम्हारा एंड में बैटिंग नहीं कर सकता, but तुम उससे नए बॉल की बॉलिंग करोगे, but your new ball bowling is not a problem. In fact, your new ball bowling is a Tanzid and as you said, over, it wouldn't have been a, but because you had to take Mehdi, you had to bowl him. But I don't think they quite understood the usage of Pramod sir. We've been harping about wanting to move on past Shakib. They did not give him a single over. तो तुम मूव ऑन कर चुके हो तो फिर पिक क्यों कर रहे हो? और अगर पिक कर रहे हो, I think it was too many boxes, and in that they had to compromise somewhere. First opening wickets and compromised on a good finish. So I don't know it without having to compromise somewhere. You have to really think of the situation because you're killing each other. Single over. Warner है, but यार शकीब भी तो शकीब है.
Interesting that about Shakib as well, Pramod bhai. Like, where do you stand on that? Shakib is supposed to be their experienced pro, jisko matlab bat ball, har jagah he can add value to the side. But like Nikhil mentioned, na to ball ke saath, matlab ball dali ek to, and batting ke saath bhi he had like 3 or 4 runs, matlab nothing much of note. Do you think it's time for Bangladesh to move on from him and potentially even Mahmudullah going forward?
No, actually, like if you put Shakib to good use, like we saw in the 20, I think I'm going a little far back, but 2019 World Cup, he batted at 3, scored 600 runs, and picked up I think 10, 11 wickets with the ball. So I think even 5 years down the line, he's still their best player, which sort of doesn't say much about the progress Bangladesh have made. But at the same time, if he's there, if he's fit, he's available, why not make the best of him, right? Send him at probably 3 or 4. And yeah, I understand why Bangladesh went in with Mehdi Hassan just for that particular matchup. But I think Nikhil makes a very good point saying that your power play bowling was not your weakness at all. It was, in fact, one of Bangladesh's major strength in the matches leading up to it. So even with the matchup going against, probably against Shakib with his left arm spin, probably his experience, he's played over 100 T20s. I think I'm sure he would have figured out a way, or he would have come out of the way to come on top of either Warner or Head. Even if we knew that they were going to be key figures at the top, getting one of them out, you sort of open up the game in your favor. So in that aspect, I feel probably Shakib could have been given that 1 over that you said Mehdi got 1 over extra. Maybe you could have thrown the ball to Shakib in that over, and you could have seen what happened. But I think Bangladesh probably lost it. I mean, you never know. Nothing would have happened in that over, but at least you would have tried something new to break the partnership, which unfortunately I think Bangladesh didn't use today.
Fair enough. And again, to be fair to them, after the power play, 59 runs in the power play, that is, it seemed like Australia will just scamper through to the target. It was a nice 3 over phase, just 11 runs conceded, 2 wickets taken. It seemed like, okay, Bangladesh are probably just, coming back into the game when Maxwell and Warner once again took it away. They realized, कि भाई बारिश हो सकता है, let's not let DLS spoil our plans. 30 runs in the last 14 balls, including 6 bounties. Just going on to show कि भाई attack करना है तो they know they can attack and they did go for it. But now, in terms of Australia's batting itself, it's not really been tested, in this game and even in the sort of first group, Nikhil bhai. A couple of comments coming in. One from Vikramaditya who says, Australia's struggle against spin kind of gives me hope. On the other hand, someone else says, ki bhai, this performance warrants a pacer being used, and we should probably look at it that way, because the likes of Maxi, Head at the top, they all can smash spin easily. Where do you stand when it comes to Australian batting over here?
So I think this is something we discussed in a couple of videos just prior. This is probably perspective. People on the again, just speaking out loudly, that people have been saying that Australia have been steamrolling, but they haven't been steamrolling opponents. They were in a tough spot against Oman. They were in a tough spot against Scotland. They found heroes in those positions, and hence those positions look better for you. Now, Warner का तुमको tension नहीं है, but Travis had one great game against Scotland, but that isn't the Travis Head that you know of. And even today, when spin was bowled to him, he did look circumspect to you. So eventually, if you are able to execute your plans, ऐसा नहीं है कि they are just running away with the game और एकदम ही dominate कर रहे हैं. So, and Mitch Marsh, you saw in the very little that he played, so tentative he was against spin, which has always been the case with him. कि वो शुरू ऐसे ही करता है कि इसको बैटिंग आती है क्या. But when he stays put for 15-20 balls, then तुमको bowling आती है क्या. That's how the transformation happens. So every team that is going to go up against them, I think the best way to go to look at this is how you looked at SRH or KKR, that you have to just keep attacking the top three. The earlier you take that top three out of the game, the better it will be for you, because Stoinis is the one who's holding the innings well in this tournament for them. Warner's had good game, Marsh अब तक नहीं आए, but जैसे venues रहे हैं उसका एक knock तो आ जाएगा. So if you look from the one point of view, Australia is like, dude, we are almost in the semis, and all we need is 2 good days, 2 individual performances, and we'll be done. But at the same time, on the other end, if teams are smart enough to plan well, and as you said, Kuldeep hai, to use him early versus Mitch Marsh. Entry points for bowlers against Australia is going to be massive, because they have that left-right combination, and people are happy to lose their wickets. So I don't think it is 8, it is 9 or 10. It's probably 7.58, but because Australia clutch mentality और थोड़ा narrative भी बन जाता है, you probably want to give it 9.5. So room है to catch them, but they've been very smart in terms of catching teams. I think England game is the best example. The moment they realized England can come back, they were very good to close the game out from there in terms of with the ball. So I think opening नहीं दे रहा Australia teams को, and hence it's looking far more convincing than what it is actually, in my opinion.
Interesting that they have been very dominating so far, as is usually the case when it comes to Australia in ICC events. So not surprising over that. But Pramod bhai, one more bit, one last piece of formality in the first segment. Top performer, no questions asked, has to be David Warner. Very, very, very fluid. Unbeaten 53, 5 fours, 3 sixes, strike rate in excess of 150 while chasing a very modest total of 140. भाई साहब ने तो दिखा दिया कि यार जो भी हो हम ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए कर देंगे.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm once Warner leaves, I'm not sure if Australia, I don't know, may have somebody of his caliber opening the innings. But yeah, what we saw today is exactly why you need someone like David Warner on the at top. A modest target.
And just like that, modest target बोलते ही प्रमोद भाई गायब हो गया अचानक से. Nikhil bhai, you can take over. David Warner, in terms of that knock, fantastic knock, and you also spoke about it earlier a bit.
Yeah, I think the thing that we don't always celebrate a lot about David Warner is his ability to combat spin. Kafi, I don't know why people just don't talk about it enough, because it's very rare to see an Australian batter be at so much ease again, whatever spin is bowled at him. Whether it is leg spin, whether it is off spin, banda happy to switch it, banda happy to reverse swing. Difficult to bowl, difficult to plan versus him. And again, इतना ज़्यादा cricket खेला है तो he knows inside out के किस बॉलर को कहाँ टारगेट करना है. So I think I'm sure Akash and Anirudh have enough names for Pramod to now here in terms of Warner के बाद कौन आ सकता है in their sides, but it will be very difficult to replace the temperament and the ability versus spin, at least for me, for David Warner. And I think last World Cup he's played as good as anyone or any others. He may not have been as dominating in terms of intimidating maybe as the past, but he's just getting the job done, and eventually that's what matters.
For sure. And Pramod, sorry we lost you there in between. Final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever I heard of Nikhil, I think he pretty much summed it up. Yeah, I mean, Warner at this. I mean, what else could you possibly add about Warner, right? Like, I mean, today he just made a mockery out of a very modest total, and and he's also capable of going. I mean, I think he didn't even hit. I think his fourth or fifth gear against Bangladesh today. I think he was just playing his normal game. And if they were chasing about 180, 200 plus, he has that sort of gear that he can shift to and play accordingly. So I think that's what we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, and I think it's fantastic to see that he's continuing on those lines and doing it so consistently.
Very, very, very valid points those. And of course, this win also meant that Australia have won the last 12 of their completed games in the T20 World Cup. In fact, their last loss coming against New Zealand in the 2021 T20 World Cup. Bhai saab, काफी time हो गया है वहाँ पे. In fact, this win against Bangladesh also means that they've taken their winning streak against Bangladesh in T20 World Cups to 6-0, which is the highest for any head-to-head in the World Cup. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Australia, Bangladesh being top 3 over there. Anyways, that's that from yesterday's game and the first segment. It's now time for us to talk about the ins and outs of social media in the second segment. And what do we call that? Yep, we call it What's Trending. Now, what's trending with, unfortunately, Australia, Bangladesh was not as eye-catchy as India, Afghanistan was yesterday. So clearly, a lot more people chatting and talking about that game. Also probably had to do with the minor fact that bhai सुबह 6 बजे को Australia, Bangladesh देखने के लिए ज़्यादा लोग unfortunately उठते नहीं है in general, especially in this part of the world. So let's have the tweets out. There you go. The first one, of course, talking about Jasprit Bumrah and his sheer dominance in this World Cup yesterday. Again, another fantastic spell for the lad. They're 3 for 3 for 7 if I'm not wrong. If India are to win this T20 World Cup, it'll have to be on the back of Jasprit Bumrah. Phenomenal today yet again, returning spectacular figures of 3 for 7 in India's 47-run victory over Afghanistan and Barbados. I mean, कुछ नया बोला नहीं है भाई साहब ने, but it is true. Has to be, but even then you cannot not mention Bumrah and India's dependence on him. हर बार जब introduce किया गया, he took a wicket. First over took a wicket, second over took a wicket. Later on in the second spell, when he came back, he took a wicket. He's just unstoppable, a proper machine and a proper cheat code for India, and we can't be thankful enough for having someone like him amongst us. And yeah, it's just so heartening to see India to finally have one of those gun bowlers ki bhai ball de do, baki main kar lunga, tension mat lo. So that was that. And second one, of course, is about the stadiums and the facilities over there. ये साले यहाँ पे they have a pool in the stadium. BC हमारे यहाँ पीने के पानी के लिए नीचे जाना पड़ता है 10 ओवर मिस करके. अभी क्या बोले भाई, जाना तो हम सबको है वेस्ट इंडीज एक मैच देखने. अभी ये वर्ल्ड कप के बाद तो और भी सबको मतलब मन कर रहा होगा कि यार want to go to St. Lucia, want to go to Barbados, want to go to St. Vincent, just watch a game from those spectacular sceneries. It's great to watch that. And thirdly, of course, Farsi cricketer going on to say, hello, Champions Trophy 2013 title. You're getting a brother soon. I hope this is not a bit premature on fans' part कि भाई इतनी जल्दी.
अरे वो आईसीसी के लिए बोल रहा है, तुम समझा नहीं. वो आईसीसी बोल रहा है, आईसीसी चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी जैसा एक ब्रदर निकालेगा वैसा. इंडिया के रिलेशन कोई नहीं है उससे.
ठीक है, फिर ठीक है. मुझे पता नहीं, मुझे लगा इंडिया के बारे में ही बात हो रही थी वहां पे, तो इसीलिए. Anyways, that was that from social media and some of the top tweets that we came across, at least our way. Time for us now quickly move on to the last segment of the episode, which is, of course, Let's Look Ahead. Two fascinating games coming our way. One tonight, which is, of course, England versus South Africa. And that game's coming live from St. Lucia and 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, as always. And tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., it's USA taking on the West Indies, both the hosts of the tournament getting to face each other. And that's coming live from Barbados. Let's start with the first game now. England, South Africa, St. Lucia. Has been a fairly batter-friendly surface that way, Nikhil bhai. Let's start with you. A very, very, very solid encounter on the cards.
Yeah, probably one of the good World Cup rivalries if we have in terms of T20s. We've seen quite a few good games that way. So expecting more of the same. A side in South Africa which is looking for more heroes, while England is finding them along the way in terms of now that they're in the Super 8s and looking very solid. But lot of mini battles to look out for. How does Rashid bowl to Klassen? How do Quinton and Riza, if he survives Jofra Archer, take on the power play options that England have? तो बहुत कुछ है. राइडिंग प्ले माकरम के विधान बने नहीं है. मतलब लास्ट गेम वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम ही स्कोर्ड रन्स. तो lot of mini battles that way. You want South Africa to win, but I think there are a few holes that South Africa will want to plug. Probably I feel more important game for South Africa because again they have won, but they haven't looked as convincing. हर गेम में एकदम ऐसा अरे बाप रे इधर से आ जाएंगे क्या, वैसा फीलिंग आया उनके साथ. So and it won't be surprised if Australia and South Africa play the final because they both had similar such routes के जीते हैं सब, but everything isn't as rosy as it sounds. So I think very very important game for South Africa to come good because if England win this one, भाई the narrative तो unbearable हो जाएगा, वो तो secondary है, but the team will also feel a lot more confident about themselves and then there's nothing stopping a team with so many options down the order क्योंकि उनके पास मैच विनर्स तो है. अब पिछले वर्ल्ड कप में कोई भी नहीं चला था, अब इस वर्ल्ड कप में अगर धीरे धीरे सब चलेंगे, so then it will be a difficult proposition for any side coming against them.
For sure, and fair to say, West Indies will also be rooting for England to, win against South Africa because that would mean the tie between them would essentially be a must-win, a knockout game, assuming West Indies do go on to defeat USA tonight. But Pramod bhai, again, like Nikhil mentioned, South Africa have hardly been convincing. Far from that in each of their victories. Sure, you can say Sri Lanka $78, but वो भी थोड़ा मर के chase किया था. Nepal we know, Bangladesh we know, and of course USA as well. They would want to sort of dominate the proceedings and win convincingly for once.
Yeah, they should. I think the US game, if not the Nepal game, at least the US game was certainly a wake-up call for them on a good batting. So that's the thing between the tracks in the US and the West Indies, right? In the US, your batting is the one that really gets tested, whereas, the way you stand up against pitches that are good for bowling is what sort of differentiates you, and it's the exact opposite here in the West Indies as well. So the good thing for them is they made the best of the batting conditions, and people like De Kock, Markram, they all got back to form. Yes, Miller had a minor blip, but then overall he's been their consistent match winner for them. So in terms of bowling, I think last match Shamsi was all over the place against the US. I think he picked up a wicket at the first ball. I think that was probably the best part of it. I think it was 2 overs, 1 for 15, and then 4 overs for 50. That is like horrendous bowling from him. And if you look at the way he bowled, there were so many short balls there, so many backup lengths there, where in the West Indies it's so easy to just rock back on the back foot and just smash it over the square leg. So I think in that terms they were scratchy. Maybe they had a bit of a US hangover, if you want to call it. But yeah, overall, I think the good thing is their batters, at least the main batters, are finally clicking. Now the onus is on bowlers, other than probably say Rabada or other than Nokia, to sort of really step up and do much better than they did against the US.
Fair point that, and again, even in the last game, Shamsi went for 28 runs in that last over of his, which almost cost South Africa the game there. Had USA sort of understood the wind and all of that, they probably would have been a lot more better and could have gotten a couple of sixes extra. But again, in terms of them not being able to win convincingly, Nikhil, by any changes that you foresee, because Akash also goes on to ask here, can we see Rickleton in place of Riza now and Bartman in place of Shamsi potentially? West Indies says spin ideally plays a bigger role. So do you see either of those two changes happening?
I think Rickleton के लिए बहुत जल्दी है. They'll not drop Riza. They'll want to back him. And Riza again on good batting surfaces, you expect Riza to come back into form. And I know Rickleton has been the high intent guy up top, but Quinton is doing that role really well in terms of he's been happy to go Jayamazade from ball one, which is just what the doctor ordered for them. But the batman change is something that I definitely see happening. The one change that I want to actually see happening is not going to happen. That is resting Marco Jansen, because see, bowling in New York is a different proposition where his bounce will be a threat in itself. तो उसके बाद तेरे को सिर्फ लाइन पकड़ के bowling करनी है. But अगर वेस्ट इंडीज में जहाँ पे runs बहुत बन रहे हैं, and if there you cannot get your lines and lengths right in the power play, and if you're bowling three up top, then you're not really set in the tone, which is invariably putting a lot of pressure on Nokia as well, because you have to realize whenever Nokia has done well, it's been only in the middle overs. When you force him to bowl either too early or too late, it's not worked out quite well. So I expect more bowling for Makram also in the forthcoming games. And Jansen ka form, I think, will be very crucial, because we discussed this in the 2023 World Cup as well, that early wickets are paramount for South Africa given their bowling attack, and their batting depth nahi hai bilkul bhi. तो यानसेन खेलना important है, because बैटिंग में तो खत्म हो जाएगी जल्दी, but you have Maharaj, you have Rabada who can hit a few. So if Jansen continues to have poor games, then probably danger signs. But Abhigila, I don't think they'll change him, but they'll keep an eye on him.
Fair enough. And Pramod, coming to England, of course, they themselves did not have the greatest of starts. Almost lost to Scotland before rain intervened, then lost to Australia to put their tournament almost, at perils. Ki bhai, tournament se bahar ja sakte and stuff like that. Then they strongly came back against Oman and Namibia, and then West Indies. That win would have really boosted the morale big time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've finally sort of hit. As we had hit their strides in this team in this tournament as a team. I think scratchy in the first couple of games, and then did whatever it was needed against Oman and Namibia. Although Namibia, they're not as convincing because they lost their openers quickly, but we saw the middle order step up, and that's what's carried forward even in the Super 8 game against West Indies with Johnny Bairstow playing an absolute superb knock there. And of course you have someone like Phil Salt who's in terrific form, and we know what he can do. Here in the Caribbean, he's got a staggering record over there, and I think a few runs are due from Josh Butler's bat. I guess I think he's not really been the Butler that we've accustomed to seeing over the years. But as long as Phil Salt at the other end is doing the job and batting, not throwing the wicket, at least one of the openers batting till about 10, 11, 12 overs, setting the platform. I don't think that's a problem. So the good news for them is all the batsmen have played a significant part already in match-winning parts. You take at best, or you look at even Brook for that matter. Salt, of course, they've all done their bit, which is what England's strength has been. But of course, in the bowling, and just keep in mind they still have Will Jacks and I'm forgetting the other fellow, Chris Jordan, of course, still in the bench, who could be called upon depending on the conditions, of course. On the bowling front, of course, you've seen Adil Rashid sort of hog the limelight throughout the tournament. Whether win or lose, I think he's been one of their top performers this season. And I think the thing is, I think I think England have played with the wind also pretty well. I think their strategies and their sort of bowling lines and lengths have been based on that, which has helped in their favor. And I think Rashid has significantly played a part in that.
Completely agree there. And also that spin attack, spin troika rather of Livingston, Moeen and Rashid will sort of, play a crucial role against South Africa. There we know Quinton de Kock and his struggles against spin. So these spinners will definitely sort of make their job easier for themselves if they are able to nip de Kock in the bud, because that'll be a huge blow to South Africa. Why did they drop Will Jacks? Asks Akash. If I'm not wrong, Liam Livingston is the one who replaced him in the 11. Nikhil bhai, right call, fair call, क्या लगा उसका?
I mean, see, historically देखेंगे तो he's not enjoyed a good enough form in West Indies. Again, just something that they may have picked up from the last series also, because they played a series in West Indies prior to this World Cup. And again, he was in decent touch in the IPL, but didn't quite come good as expected for them, maybe in terms of what they saw of him. And see, even in IPL, you remember that Gujarat now, but you also remember the struggle before those 10 ball 50. So I think that is something that is still there. And it's one of those problems where I feel it's important for them to play Sam Curran. I think if you don't play Sam Curran, that is putting a lot of all eggs in one basket stuff, because Livingston isn't your. See, लिविंगस्टन को तुम एक और दे सकते हो, वो भी तुमको भारी पड़ना चाहिए था लास्ट गेम में, नहीं पड़ा. He went for 20 runs. That's your good luck. You've done some good work somewhere. It did not cost you much. But Moeen Ali is a far better T20 bowler as compared to Livingston. And which is where Sam Curran in the last game bowled better than Wood also. And Wood has had only one good game so far, which came against Oman, if I'm not wrong. So he's also coming into this game on with the lack of wickets. So you need more wicket-taking options while also taking care of the batting depth bit. So which is why I feel Will Jacks, see, I think it was which game where Will Jacks was given the second over after Moeen Ali bowled,
IPL.
and then World Cup itself, where पूरा
ऑस्ट्रेलिया
proper
एक था
जय
ना,
हाँ,
ट्रेविस हेड
Australia,
डेविड
exactly. Travis, हाँ. So Will Jacks float कर रहा था, वार्नर ने बोला इधर की float कर रहा है, stand में जाके. So that is the difference that you get with Livingston also and Will Jacks. Bowling option भी, as you said, leggy offy दोनों मिलता है तुमको. And the thing is, entry point is very very important for them. So if you have Bairstow, Sam, and all of them, or Jacks भी है, they'll all bat way too low then. So maybe a combination of all those factors. But I think Jordan को they'll still miss, because I think every game they can't get away with the Rajasthan Royals move of just giving Livingston 1 over out of the blue and it working. End overs के लिए you will need someone. Topley is yet to take wickets. Wood is yet to take wickets. So Jordan, I think, will be missed. If not now, then later.
Interesting that. And Pramod, last bit, in terms of the pace attack itself, like Nikhil mentioned, Jordan was that one designated death bowling option they had, barring Curran as well. But both of them aren't part of the 11 right now. It's Wood, Topley, and Archer that featured in the last 11. And that will most likely be the case tonight as well. Do you think that could potentially be sort of, gap that South Africa will look to exploit?
Yeah, they can actually. We've not seen. As Nikhil said, Wood had that one good game. Archer probably not good, but he's probably been the best of their pacers so far in the tournament. But the thing is, I think I'm very curious to see how South Africa negotiate someone like, as I mentioned, Adil Rashid in those middle overs. If he sort of keeps if somebody at the other end keeps one in tight, and you have Rashid picking up wickets at the other, I don't think it'll be much of a difference. I think Topley at the top. On the power play, I feel has not sort of in this 2-3 games has not panned out the way England would have potentially expected him to, which again puts a lot of pressure on Archer and sort of Wood to pick up those early wickets and stuff like that. But I think the real battle, I feel, will be how, as you mentioned, Klaasen or Markram, Stubbs for that matter, go against Rashid if it comes to that. He's the man. He's their man, and he's England's bowler in form. And he could the way they negotiate him could sort of decide which way if South Africa sort of win or lose this game.
All right, it'll be very interesting, of course, how that pans out. A lot of interesting battles, a lot of interesting matchups that are set to take place when England take on South Africa tonight. And that game's coming live from St. Lucia, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. When last game, of course, and that is USA versus West Indies. That game's coming live from Barbados, 6 a.m. Indian Standard Time. क्या लग रहा है बॉस प्रमोद भाई, आंद्रीज गाउस पहला सेंचुरी यूएस के लिए कल?
Yeah, hopefully, man. But the other part I'm worried about is if Monang Patel comes back, do you drop Andres Gause to 3? I certainly would not want to see him drop down to 3. I'd still like to see him sort of open the innings. It's definitely Monang. If Monang is back, Gause drops to 3. It of course adds extra batting depth. But then what we saw against South Africa, I think the way he batted, the way he paced his innings throughout, I think that was incredible to see. Against West Indies, it will be in fact, when we spoke about the contests that we're looking forward to ahead of the Super 8, I had earmarked West Indies versus USA as my match to watch out for. So, and I mean, Nikhil gives me a look saying it's not very surprising, but yeah, I mean, I'm really looking. I think both I think the batting is, I think, has clicked for both US and West Indies so far this season. So I think that is one part where I'm looking forward to. You know, if the bowlers can stop, if the US bowlers especially can stop those West Indies batters from cutting loose, you know, they could, if and restrict them. I know it won't be easy to restrict them to say under 150, 160. I think US are well in with a shout to sort of chase it down. They've shown that they're not pushers at all. Every game, I think they've been in the contest for a considerably long period of time. It's just a question of, you know, killing the game off, which I think US have sort of lacked a little bit. Hopefully, they've learned from the South Africa game and they, you know, put it into use in this.
Fair enough. And Nikhil, in terms of Andre's Gauss, you'd much rather have Andre's Gauss at number 3 and Monank open than not have Monank at all and play Shan Jahangir, because wo bhai sahab to has hardly looked the part here. And all in all, USA have been, a very well functioning unit, batting, bowling, fielding. They have been very competent and professional.
Yeah, and I think I don't know why Pramod felt the look is good, but whichever way he felt. But I think US, again, not wanting to sound rigid or overconfident, but they have good enough chance because their bowling can set the game up for them. And I think the biggest player in this West Indies lineup for them is Nicholas Puran. If they take care of Nicholas Puran, then I think USA have everything in them to keep them to a score that they can chase. Because you have Nostos Kenjige, who I'm sure is not going to have two bad games in a row. You have Harmeet Singh, who bowled really well in the last game, and you saw what West Indies struggled with in the last game in terms of slow left arm variations and all of that. In terms of in the first innings, of course, you can't compare England and USA's bowling attacks, but they have the people to do the job early. You have Mitra Walker who can fox Johnson Charles just like how he did against India as well. So my only worry is Jasdeep Singh. And I'm all for backing people, but I just feel Jasdeep Singh को power play में मत डालो. Probably give him a role post power play और डालना है तो दो कोरे एंडरसन और जसदीप से 2 ओवर करा लो चलेगा. But do not be worried about how do I get overs out. I think sometimes that happens with teams. Even the best of them, that you are thinking too much about the fifth bowler and uska quota, and then you eventually be a bit more defensive. जरूरत नहीं है. वेस्ट इंडीज के सामने इफ यू टेक आउट द टॉप 3 वेरी वेरी अर्ली, देन भाई तुमको यू आर वेरी मच इनटू द गेम, क्योंकि बाकी सब भी हैं, सब जय माता दी करेंगे. एंड अगेंस्ट रॉबमन पावल एंड अगेंस्ट एवरीवन आई कैन बैक नॉस्टोस केंजिके टू कम गुड. वहां पे चार्ल्स है, चेज है, रॉबमन पावल है. he'll be good enough. I'm not saying they'll be great, but they can keep them to a score that they can chase. और Ali Khan has played a lot of CPL. तो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि उसको कंडीशन नहीं पता. एंड इवन मोर होप नाउ आफ्टर द लास्ट गेम इन बारबाडोस, although that was a day game, if it has something that is holding up for them, so then USA have a chance. Taylor masterclass hopefully, and then bowling से जिसको भी लेना है जो करना करो, Taylor masterclass with the bat.
इंटरेस्टिंग. एंड एज फार एज जसदीप सिंह इज कंसर्न, मेरे हिसाब से तो एक ही रोल है भाई, आप जूस, पानी, सोडा, एनर्जी ड्रिंक ये सब लेके आओ टाइम टू टाइम और वापस आओ. शार्डली शुड बी इन द 11. डेफिनेटली शार्डली इज अ मच बेटर ऑप्शन कंपेयर्ड टू जसदीप. एंड in all fairness, जसदीप भाई आप बैट और बॉल दोनों में मैच हराए हो अपनी टीम के लिए. नॉट ऑफ कोर्स नॉट पिनिंग द ब्लेम और एनीथिंग ऑन हिम. ठीक है, यू हैव अ बेटर ऑप्शन इन द स्क्वाड, चुपचाप यूज कर लो भाई, अभी खत्म बात वहीं पे. Anyways, that's from USA side of things, but even West Indies have a couple of things they have.
Actually, I thought you were wrapping it up, but I wanted to say who comes in place in case Brandon King is not fit. I'm sure.
Exactly. I was getting back to that. West Indies, two things, two sort of gaps that they'll also want to plug. One, of course, is that of Brandon King. He potentially could be ruled out of the World Cup with that side string he's picked up. Let's start with that. Pramod, since you already mentioned it, क्या लग रहा है वहाँ पे? Shai Hope, Kyle Mayers, who do they go to?
Oh yeah, Kyle. This is a perfect opportunity to get Kyle Mayers into into the squad if King is going to be ruled out. Yeah, that comment pretty much sums it up. Yeah, of course. I think other than that, who do they have? They have only Shai Hope who can open. I don't think there are any other options. So yeah, and people. I think in the previous match, I think everybody was after Johnson Charles. Johnson Charles ko nikalo. He doesn't deserve this, that. But his King's injury could very well be the lifeline that Johnson. Johnson Charles needed to kick on from here, and hopefully he does. But I think other than Shea Hope, are there any options? I don't
Kyle
think there
Mayers
are
here.
any.
They've already announced Kyle Mayers as a replacement. So Mayers to
Oh, is it?
straight, yeah, straightforward.
Hetman would get a game.
Straight swap. Plus, don't forget he can bowl 1 or 2 overs in the power play as well if needed. I mean, I don't think if West Indies need that is. I mean, somebody bowling with Akil Hossain and Kyle May swinging it both ways. I mean, in the power play, I think that would be a perfect situation for them, I guess.
तो कौन से साइड है वेस्ट इंडीज साइड पे है कि यूएसए साइड पे है
And मैं तो आप ही की तरफ, of course.
Do you guys feel they could play Obed McCoy? I think he's more than Kyle Mayers. I think they need to get in Obed McCoy. Now, how they get him is something that I was figuring if they can drop Shepherd because इतना ज़्यादा उसको batting they are not able to use him well with the bat. He's hardly getting a couple of balls towards the end. वो तो Akil Hussain can also hit a few boundaries here and there. The bigger problem is creating chances with the ball. I think Obed, I think should be playing.
Fair point. That, and sorry, before we sort of talk about Obed McCoy as well, just to be clear, I checked that Kyle Mayers has not been announced as a replacement. He's a part of the traveling reserve, so they can very easily bring him into the squad and make him play. But अब तक कोई update आया नहीं है वहाँ पे. So as things stand, Shai Hope is the only like-for-like replacement, so to say, available in the squad. And yeah, coming to Obed McCoy, Pramod, that's definitely something they'll have to consider, right? Romario Shepherd has been woefully out of form with the ball.
Yeah, I think even if the bat has not shown any signs of increase, so I mean the logic of having an extra or a deep batting lineup is gone with him not contributing much with the bat. And of course, even if you get Obed McCoy, you at least get a few good overs from him. So I think from in our comments we've had people going after Charles and Romario Shepherd. I think one of this thing is going to come true hopefully in the next game with McCoy coming in.
And McCoy coming in solves a bunch of problems for them, right? Left arm angle bhi lata hai, rounds it off well, can bowl at the death, has those variations. So all in all, Nikhil, it makes the bowling attack also sort of look a bit more formidable.
Yeah, Bilkul. And see, at this point of time, it's only Joseph and Akil who are your options in terms of course, Gutukesh Modi has had a great year, but you want more options along with just having those 4 options. Because Russell के knee पे burden नहीं डालने का है. It is as straightforward as it can get, and I'm hoping genuinely that Pollard has called up Russell and had a word with him about when he is getting out. Because too many times I felt Russell has got out just at the worst possible time for West Indies. So that his contribution becomes important because if he's bowling 2-3 overs every game, but then you know what he's in the team for. कि short ball डालेगा वो अच्छा डालेगा Yorker भी है. But Alzari पे भी वो pressure कम करने के लिए you need a guy like Obed so that you can distribute your overs far better. You can use Chase also. I think Chase is very again थोड़ा off spinning all rounders FC very underrated. And you can send him higher up the order as well if you want to show somebody to just get out. So he's basically West Indies ka Mohini. They can do that with him. Might not need it today, but you have Kenzie and Harmeet. If they're both bowling at the same time and they are getting stuck, Puran agar out ho gaya, it won't be a bad call to send in Chase higher up the order and ask him to go help another.
Fair point that. Let us see how West Indies look at this. And also there's an update from the West Indies, think tank as far as Brandon King is concerned. He's traveled to Barbados for the West Indies game against USA on Friday, which is today, of course. But they're still awaiting the results of the MRI scans from the CWI medical team. So let us see. They'll wait on the reports and then take a call possibly ki bhai, will he be a part of the tournament or should they sign a replacement? Kya hoga? So as things stand, he potentially might still not be available for tonight's game. But tournament, for the rest of the tournament is something we are unsure of. So let's wait and watch kya hota hai wahan pe. So that's that as far as a couple of games are concerned coming tonight and tomorrow morning. That's it from all of us right now. Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of What's Up World Cup. We've had great fun, and I know it's a Friday. It's a gloomy overcast day, like I mentioned up top. Time for us now head back to our cocoons and get back to our work. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow, 12 p.m. sharp, reviewing the 2 games, talking about Andri's Gau's century and whatnot. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Have a great day, and importantly, have a great, great, great weekend.
Cheers.